Hey everybody, I want to take a few minutes here and give you an overview of 5 musical elements that are the foundation for every musical arrangement, musical instrumentation, performance group, whether it's a worship band, an orchestra, a harmonica choir, an a cappella choir, handbell choir, you name it. All of them have melody, harmony, harmonic structure, rhythm, and texture. These 5 components are what makes up and gives you some sort of form and function and depth to any song. So melody, harmony, harmonic structure, rhythm, and texture. Okay? Melody is the musical identity of the song. The melody is the main notes, the pitch, and the rhythmic progression that gives you the overall feel of what that song is going to be. It's the identifier, it's what you think of. Okay? Lyrics coexist with the melody. A good song has lyrics that emphasize the melody and a melody that emphasizes the lyrics. But even if there is an instrumental song, you're going to have a main melody, the main theme. Think of Star Wars, think of any musical theme for a soundtrack, and an instrumental idea is going to be there as the main identity. Okay? There are other instruments that can play a melody, but especially in worship songs, the melody is going to be carried by vocalists. And sometimes there are going to be little riffs or little musical ideas that are carried by instrumentalists, but those aren't the identifiers. I really want you to think of melody as that main idea, and that's the most important thing. Okay? Other musical components, as I said, may have melodic characteristics, a lead line, a riff, a guitar solo. Sometimes the guitar solo is going to play the melody of the song. Sometimes it's going to have its own melody. But remember, it is the main thing that gives you the identity of the song. So vocals usually carry that. Instrumental solos may re-emphasize it. And most melodies are carried in higher registers. You don't have bass guitars or low instruments carrying the melody, unless it's very specific in the arrangement, or you have a low vocalist, for instance, carrying it. But melodies are usually played in higher registers because you can hear them better. Harmony. Harmony are notes simultaneously performed with and that reinforce the melody. Okay? They may be different instruments than the melody, but they are played in a way that coincides with the melody. So if the melody is going at a certain pace with a certain progression of notes, and there's a jump and there's a fall in the melody, the harmony is going to carry on and follow that same line. Or they're going to be played simultaneously as in a hymn, where if the melody goes higher, sometimes the harmony will go lower to emphasize the chord, but the harmony is going to be played at the same time, okay, with the same rhythm and with the same accents. Harmonies are often carried in the vocals, especially in our worship ministry. This is what we think of. Vocalists have to do a lot of harmonic roles, right? Singing backup, singing vocal harmonies. But any instrument can play as long as it is going along with the melody. Okay? The tonality, a mode, and chord progression of a song is what we call the harmonic structure. So there may be instruments playing notes that sort of feel like they're playing harmonies, but they're not going right along with each individual note. They're playing the harmonic structure, right? If the melody and the harmony fit within it and reinforce the harmonic structure. But the harmonic structure, you think of the chord progressions. You think of when the changes take place in your chords. The bass guitar is the primary instrument for this. As you hear the bass guitar change, and you hear sustained notes over that bass guitar change with it, you're going to feel the harmonic structure. Is it major? Is it minor? Is it a modal sort of structure? Is it atonal? Can you not really tell where the harmonic structure is, where the 1 chord is, where the 4 chord or the 5 chord is? Hopefully you can, and that's the harmonic structure. It helps to identify and give structure to the overall song because you have a sense of where the melody and the harmony fit and how they can be played individually over these notes of harmony. The rhythm, the groove, the beat, and the feel of the song. This is done a lot with drums, as we will talk about, but it's done with all sorts of instruments. Anything that helps to color in the accents, syncopation, and the subdivisions of a song, that's going to give you the rhythm. Some songs have very, very specific rhythms. They have a lot of accents. They have a lot of groove. Some styles have specific rhythms, right? Rock and roll has that 2 and 4 backbeat. Right? Latin music has a lot of syncopations and a lot of early hits, and waltzes are in 3/4, those type of things, right? But while the drums will play a major role in rhythm, other instruments will help to define that rhythm as well. Drums, percussion, and loops, as I said, are going to be the main thing that give you that groove, that drive, that forward progression, the keeping of time and tempo. Acoustic guitar is actually an instrument that does this quite a bit. We may think of this as a harmonic structure instrument because it's playing chords lots of times. But really, the strumming of the guitar, if you listen to any guitar in a mix or in an arrangement, you're hearing that percussive strumming and the syncopation that brings in the mix with the drums, almost more than you're hearing the chords being played. If it's in a full band arrangement, that's what you're going to hear. You may also hear arpeggiated notes or accents that are in synths or strings or electric guitars, and you hear this pattern take place over and over again, and that's going to add to the rhythm. However, that also adds to the texture, and that's our final component. The timbre, yes, that's how you call that word, that's how you say T-I-M-B-R-E, timbre. The timbre, depth, and nuance of the song. It's the feel, the style, and the expression of the song. This is sort of the icing on the cake component. However, a cake without icing is just not really good. So it is a critical component. And even if you have a little bit of instrumentation, you may not feel like there's much texture. Whatever instrumentation you use is going to give texture. A pipe organ is going to give a different texture than steel drums or an acoustic guitar or bagpipes. Right? There's texture, there's the tone of the instruments, right? Also, along with a band, you have layers of texture and their nuance and their little moments and their little feels that give you the overall big feel and emotion of the song. Electric guitars do this when they have delays and they're not really playing full chords, but they're playing little swells and little arpeggiated moments and little patterns. Synths do this really a lot, whether they're pads or strings or any type of whole note, something that you're holding. You may not even be able to tell the chords that they're changing to, but you'll feel the texture, you'll feel the grit, the drive, the overdrive, the distortion of these instruments. Okay? Tracks add a lot of texture. They add the texture and depth that you hear in a studio that you may not be able to play live. And finally, you have vocals that really do add texture. One solo vocalist is one type of texture. Adding harmonies and other vocalists adds more texture. Adding group vocals or a choir adds a depth of texture. Even if you have oohs and ahs and that type of component, gospel choir, children's choir, all changes the texture and the feel of the overall song. Right? Texture is very important. Texture is what gets in the way and confuses everything else. If you don't pay attention to texture, you're going to have a muddy, washy arrangement, and that's not what you want. Texture is just as important as space, along with that melody, harmony, and harmonic structure and rhythm. It all goes together. All right? So these 5 elements again, be remembering them, keep them in your head. They are crucial to what we're going to be talking about these next 5 weeks. And it's melody, harmony, harmonic structure, rhythm, and texture. Okay? Let's listen to One Thing by Hillsong and hear how these 5 musical elements are used creatively and dramatically in this arrangement. So I will say the first element you hear is texture. You hear a bit of harmonic progression in the keyboard and the piano, and you hear a little bit of rhythm in that repeated eighth notes, but you primarily hear this texture. It's not really identifying anything other than the feel. And then you hear the melody for the very first time. That texture again, male vocals with female vocals above in the octave. There's the first time you hear harmonies, but again, you don't really hear any harmonic structure, any real rhythm, very floaty. Now you hear the bass guitar for the first time, and the clarity of that chord progression, that chord structure, the chord changes finally is existence. Now the drums come in, you really feel that rhythm, you really feel the chord progression, and the texture is still there, that repeated synth part that we've heard from the very beginning, perpetual, continuing to play. Now you hear those chords changing more completely because of the bass and the other instrumentation. A little stronger, 4, 5, 6 minor. The melody and the vocals are at the very front of the whole mix. Now you hear new texture, new keyboards on top, drive of the electric guitars, all the vocals, but it's very stable as opposed to the beginning where it was not really stable. You didn't have structure, you didn't have harmonic structure, you didn't have rhythm. When everything is working well and working together, you feel how all 5 components are there, and you can identify all 5 components completely. Normally the louder, the stronger the moment of the song, the more each component can have very strong aspects. Texture can be very deep, rhythm can be very strong, harmony can be loud, balanced underneath the melody. Adds for great contrast when you drop back down. Now what elements are you hearing? Melody, harmonic structure, texture. The rhythm is out. No subdivisions. Hear that synth? The synth that was above is just holding one note for texture, and the piano is what's giving you that change. Same thing here, electric guitar is giving you texture, but not harmonic structure. A little bit of rhythm with these individual notes, but here comes more rhythm. Acoustic guitar, chicka, chicka, chicka. Drums. You hear the claps coming together, being more succinct and tighter. The melody carrying the whole song, obviously. The rhythms, this build, we pull that rhythmic feel away. We know we're anticipating some stability coming. But the build has to be really tight and really precise so we can land on that full groove when it comes in. It adds drama. It adds expectation, anticipation, release, resolve.
so much going on right now in texture, in layers. We'll talk about arranging and how things all fit together. But you see the complexity of these big moments. Now the texture changes. All vocals, all melody. Chords subtly changing underneath. You've created that rhythmic feel so it can continue underneath internally, even though you're not hearing it. All 5 components: melody, harmony, harmonic structure, rhythm, texture. The more musicians you have, the more unique a song is, the more elements and sections of a song, the more you're going to work on really crafting and arranging so these 5 elements are played well. People understand the roles that they're playing and their different instrumentation jobs, and they understand how to really make dramatic, authentic, worshipful music.